The Thuringia election was just 2 days ago, and already there is the first huge scandal in the state parliament. Due to the stubborn parties in Thuringia, a constitutional crisis is already emerging after just 2 days. And this clearly shows that the established parties care absolutely nothing about democracy and are indifferent to the German people. Let's take a look at this huge scandal. Here we go. When I opened the news this morning, I thought to myself, well, this is off to a good start in Thuringia. The two Eastern elections were just 2 days ago, and already the first constitutional crisis is already looming. And why? Because the established parties are blocking all democratic processes, simply because they cannot stand the alternative for Germany. Processes that have worked wonderfully for decades are now suddenly very, very bad because the alternative for Germany is the strongest power in the parliament, and these processes must now be prevented. Apollo News reported that factions are trying to prevent an alternative for Germany's state parliament president at all costs. This could trigger a constitutional crisis. The parliament election in Thuringia has made Alternative for Germany the strongest force in Erfurt state parliament, with just under approximately 33% of the votes and 32 seats. The party has the right to appoint the state parliament president. This presents a dilemma for the parties beyond the firewall. A constitutional crisis threatens right at the beginning of the legislative period. According to the rules of procedure of the Thuringia State Parliament, the strongest faction has the right to propose a candidate for the State Parliament President. The Alternative for Germany is nominating a candidate for 2021. If rejected, a second vote will follow. If this also fails, the further course of action remains unclear. Although the Council of Elders has agreed that other factions may also indeed submit proposals, it remains unclear whether this regulation is legally binding. So, my dear viewers, we are witnessing here, one-to-one, the continuation of the completely anti-democratic stance of the established parties, as we have already seen in the Federal Diet since 2021. For 3 years, established parties have denied AfD a deputy president in the Federal Diet, even though AfD is legally entitled to one. And now the established parties want to do exactly the same in Thuringia. However, it is even more dramatic in Thuringia, as the Alternative for Germany is entitled not only to the position of deputy state president, but even directly to the office of state parliament president. As the strongest force, the Alternative for Germany has the right to propose a state parliament president according to the rules of procedure, and of course, they will propose their own AfD candidate. Overall, the Alternative for Germany has 32 seats in the state parliament, which results in a total of 36% of the votes in the state parliament due to the exit of other parties at the 5% threshold. However, the other parties together hold 64% and will reject the Alternative for Germany candidate. And now one could certainly say, okay, this is extremely frustrating for the Alternative for Germany, but it does not automatically become a problem, as next year other candidates from the other parties can still be proposed. And this is exactly where the problem lies, because the Alternative for Germany has an ace up its sleeve. Apollo News reports that a key role in this process is taken on by the Age President, who leads the first session of the new state parliament. The Age President of the new Thuringia State Parliament is also expected to be appointed by the Alternative for Germany. At 73 years old, Jürgen Treutler is the oldest member of the future state parliament. He won the direct mandate for the Alternative for Germany in the state election in Sonneberg. Reuter could play a crucial role in interpreting the rules of procedure and continue to restrict the right to propose only to the Alternative for Germany. The established parties would then face the difficult decision of whether to accept all Alternative for Germany candidates or risk a possible constitutional crisis. The stalemate could quickly lead to a legal dispute before the Constitutional Court. In every state, the state parliament is incapacitated without the involvement of the Alternative for Germany. If an Alternative for Germany president were elected, he would practically no longer be removable due to the blocking minority of the AfD. And that is really shocking. Through their 73-year-old retired Member of Parliament Jürgen Treutler, the Alternative for Germany can prohibit the proposal of other candidates. And that leaves only one candidate from the Alternative for Germany. If he is not accepted by the other candidates, then Thuringia will indeed be without a state parliament president and will thus be practically ungovernable. The state parliament president, along with their deputies, leads all plenary sessions of the state parliament in rotation, conducts elections and votes, and represents the parliament in parliamentary and constitutional matters both externally and internally. However, without a state parliament president, there can be no plenary session in the state parliament. Thuringia would be ungovernable, and that would trigger a colossal constitutional crisis. And why? Because the established parties are trampling on our democracy and denying the strongest force in the state the offices that rightfully belong to them. Take a look at this map here. It is almost completely blue. Thuringia has a total of 44 electoral districts, and the Alternative for Germany is the strongest force in 7 of those districts. In other words, in 84% of the electoral districts of Thuringia, the Alternative for Germany is the strongest party. The people of Thuringia have decided they want a change, they want the Alternative for Germany. And the established parties simply do not want to accept this overwhelmingly large majority and are now blocking the entire parliament and thus causing a significant delay. This is anti-democratic and incredibly anti-social. I mean, why are the established parties trampling on the will of the voters so harshly? Why do the established parties not finally accept their defeat and realize that the people truly want a 180-degree turn? But apparently, the established parties couldn't care less, and they live by the motto, "After me, the deluge." And then we end up with a constitutional crisis. And currently, I see only one possibility for how this can still be saved, namely through the BSW. The Wagenknecht Party has announced that it absolutely does not want to form a coalition with the Alternative for Germany. But it has announced that it will vote together with the Alternative for Germany on substantively good proposals. And that's why I could imagine that the BSW would agree to an Alternative for Germany state president if they, in return, receive their own deputy state president. And that would be really extremely interesting, because if the established parties block all democratic processes in the country, then the two new parties would simply govern alone, bypassing the established parties. And that would truly be a novelty. How do you assess the situation in Thuringia? Are Alternative for Germany and BSW helping each other regarding the state parliament? Or is there going to be a constitutional crisis? Feel free to share your assessment in the comments below the video.